Jinping's empire would not have been successfully established without Wang Qishan, who is undoubtedly the first key figure. As a result, few people refer to Xi's first decade as the Xi Jinping regime, but rather as the Xi Wang regime. Wang Qishan saw himself as the party's enforcer, transforming the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection into an incredibly sharp blade. He launched an unprecedented anti-corruption campaign, helping Xi Jinping intimidate the entire bureaucracy and smoothly ascend to the top. Consequently, Wang became the second most powerful figure in the Communist Party, wielding immense influence and forming a vast network of corrupt interests around him. However, just a few years later he was sidelined by Xi Jinping due to corruption allegations, becoming a lonely figure on the margins of the political scene. So, how did Wang Qishan rise to become the party's enforcer, and how did he fall from being an outstanding youth to a corrupt official? Wang Qishan hails from Shaanxi province. His father was a senior engineer at the Design Institute under the Ministry of Construction, and had refused to work for the Japanese during their occupation of Qingdao. In 1956, when Wang was 8 years old, he moved with his father from Qingdao to Beijing for school. At that time, the prestigious Beijing Noba de Wang 35 middle school had a system where excellent high school students mentored junior high school students. Wang Qishan had served as a mentor for a junior high school class. Ren Zhiqiang was in that class. Yao Mingwei, the son of Yao Yilin, was Wang's high school classmate, and the two were close friends. In his book Wild and Noble Ambition, Ren Zhiqiang recalls that the mentors were like big brothers to us. They weren't spiritual guides but used their broader life experience to help us think independently. When I turned 15, I was preparing to leave the Young Pioneers. Qishan invited me for a talk and suggested I write an application to join the Communist Youth League. My attention was drawn to sports like basketball, soccer, and volleyball, which were not available in elementary school. As a result, I missed the opportunity to join the Communist Youth League. This incident still bothers Qishan, who has mentioned it to me repeatedly during our meetings. That near miss had a profound impact on my future. When the Cultural Revolution began, schools nationwide suspended classes to focus on revolution. As the third of 3 children, Wang Qishan's education was interrupted. Starting in December 1968, a nationwide movement to send educated youth to the countryside gained momentum, with Beijing and the revolutionary city of Yan'an taking the lead. The first batch of 4,500 educated youth from Beijing arrived in Yan'an, with each production team in Yan'an County accommodating 10 of them. Wang Qishan and 13 other educated youth, upon arriving at their assigned village, initially stayed and ate with local families. One female educated youth found it difficult to adapt. When she went to a local family's home for a meal, she found the cave dwelling dark, the chopsticks made from a firewood container, and a strange odor permeating the room. Wang Qishan gathered the educated youth and held a meeting. He said, "I went to the production brigade leader Han's home for a meal, and the whole family served me the best food they had. They genuinely treated us as honored guests, which made me feel guilty. We must not become a burden to the village. First, we need to integrate into the village's daily life and become one of its members. Starting tomorrow, whoever's home we eat at, we should help them with their work. We should also learn to communicate with the villagers and proactively learn to speak the local dialect." Following his advice, the educated youth quickly familiarized themselves with the brigade situation. Later, the village secretary arranged for them to have a few cave dwellings. Wang Qishan and 5 other educated youth squeezed into the same earthen bed, each occupying a space roughly half a meter wide and 2 meters long. The accommodation was sorted, but the issue of food was challenging. In the first year, the commune allocated about 30 pounds of grain to each person, mostly corn and sorghum, with no refined grains. The sent-down youth could only cook or roast corn. They didn't know any other methods. Later, someone taught them to make cornbread. According to Wang Qishan's later recollections, after meeting with classmates from Heilongjiang, he felt like crying. They at least ate their fill after a hard day's work. But here he was exhausted and still hungry, finally understanding what hunger felt like. After a year of hard work, the brigade planned to distribute the harvested grain to everyone based on work points. Wang Qishan and a few other male sent-down youth could earn 10 work points for a day's labor, while female sent-down youth usually earned 8. Ren Jiqiang recalled that 10 work points were equivalent to 2 fen, the price of a box of matches at the time. Therefore, a day's labor could earn them a box of matches. A pack of cigarettes costing 8 or 9 fen was equivalent to several days' worth of work points. From then on, the sent-down youth were self-sufficient. In the second year, the commune no longer allocated grain or money to them. The sent-down youth experience held 4 significant meanings for Wang Qishan. First, he formed a relationship with Yao Mingwei's sister, Yao Mingshan, the daughter of Yao Yilin, linking his own fate with the Yao Yilin family and continuing his red lineage. This was his greatest achievement during his time in the countryside, changing his destiny. At that time, Yao Yilin was battling cancer, and the Yao family was at its lowest point. Young Wang Qishan was handsome, had a good command of language, and was very caring, easily winning the approval of the young Yao girl. After a period of sent-down life, Yao Mingshan broke her leg while digging a well and was sent back to Beijing for treatment. Fortunately, the couple had already established a clear romantic relationship. Second, he encountered Xi Jinping, another sent-down youth who had posted a notice in a nearby brigade. The two shared a bed, stayed up all night talking, and helped each other with books. The friendship between two individuals lasted for decades, profoundly shaping the future political landscape. Among the group of sent-down youth they were part of, 8 provincial and ministerial level officials emerged, along with renowned writers like Lu Yao and Shi Tisheng. Thirdly, they had ample time to read, which laid the foundation for Wang Qishan's basic knowledge. Sent-down youth had 1 day off per week. While some played chess or poker, Wang Qishan studied, using a stone slab as a desk to read books on science, mathematics, and physics. He enjoyed reading Red Flag magazine and foreign economic books. One foreign economic book Wang Qishan had was borrowed from Xi Jinping, seemingly honing his basic leadership and coordination skills, which laid the groundwork for his future work. After some time, Wang Qishan became the deputy secretary of the Brigade Party Committee. The brigade leader was an old revolutionary soldier who often consulted Wang Qishan for advice. Other brigades with sent-down youth issues would invite Wang Qishan to mediate. Ren Jiqiang recalled that once, the sent-down youth in Guozhuang village had a conflict with students and villagers from another village while celebrating Mao Zedong's reception of the Red Guards, committing a political error. Wang Qishan had to intervene again, sending a few students from their village to other sent-down youth points to resolve the issue. It seemed like a predestined sign. Both Xi Jinping and Li Keqiang served as brigade secretaries during their sent-down youth experiences, while Wang Qishan only served as the deputy secretary of the brigade. This period of sent-down youth life did not have as many remarkable stories as Liang Jiahei's or the legendary tales of Xi Jinping, such as carrying 200 pounds and not changing clothes while crossing mountains. Wang Qishan's experience appeared ordinary and uneventful. During the Cultural Revolution, the Shaanxi Provincial Museum was closed for many years, only reopening in 1971. The management decided to recruit 10 tour guides from the Beijing sent educated youth in Yan'an. For the educated youth at that time, this was the best possible outcome. Wang Qishan was also hired, finally escaping the harsh rural life and moving to the city. Many of his teammates only had the chance to leave the Les Plateaux years later. By this time, Yao Yilin had been released and did not fail to put in a good word for his son-in-law. Wang Qishan began systematically reading historical books, including Fan Wenlin's Outline of Chinese General Knowledge and Guo Moruo's Chinese General Knowledge. During this period, Li Xianian also visited the Kai management. The management decided that Qishan should handle the reception. In 2011, Wang Qishan, then vice premier, reminisced with old friends about the museum's steel forest, saying, "I could lecture on the steel forest even now." In 1972, 2 senior colleagues from the Shaanxi Provincial Museum at that time were admitted to Northwest University. Upon hearing this, Wang Qishan decided to apply as well. At that time, Northwest University offered only 2 admission slots annually, to the Shaanxi Provincial Museum. In September 1973, the 25-year-old Wang Qishan was admitted to study history at Northwest University. The department had one archaeology class and one history class, with nearly 50 students in the history class. Initially, Wang Qishan served as the class's cultural and sports secretary, primarily responsible for sports activities. Later, he became the chairman of the history department's student union, frequently hosting evening events and other group activities, making him the most active student in the department. Wang Qishan deeply respected Zhang Qiji, his philosophy professor. He visited his mentor at Northwest University many times afterward. In the memories of his classmates, Wang Qishan during his university years had a commanding presence when discussing serious matters. In his personal life, he was outgoing and loved to laugh, with a booming laugh and dimples at the corners of his mouth. He enjoyed joking with friends. In 1976, Wang Qishan graduated from university. At that time, the policy for workers, peasants, and soldier students was to return to their original places after graduation. Wang Qishan returned to work at the Shaanxi Provincial Museum. In August 1978, Yao Yilin was appointed as the Minister of the Ministry of Commerce. After the third plenary session of the 11th Central Committee, Yao Yilin served as the Vice Secretary of the Central Secretariat and Director of the General Office of the Central Committee, marking the beginning of Wang Qishan's opportunity. In 1979, at the age of 31, Wang Qishan was transferred to the Institute of Modern History at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences to work as a trainee researcher. He became one of the first sent-down youth to return to Beijing. Although it was an ordinary position, the biggest advantage was that he could reunite with his girlfriend in Beijing, solving the couple's long-distance relationship issue. At that time, the institute's building was not yet completed, so they conducted their research in 3 small rooms behind the construction site. Funding was scarce, and there were not even enough desks, so much of the work had to be done at home or in the dormitory. Wang Qishan first participated in the revision of the book Wuchang Strange Characters in the Shanghai Revolution, and later joined the compilation of the biographies of Republican figures. During this period, perhaps to gain his father-in-law's approval, Wang began shifting his focus from historical research to reform and economic issues. At that time, the Cultural Revolution had ended, and the country was undergoing a historical shift towards reform. The nation experienced political adjustments and ideological changes. Young people of that generation were generally concerned about the country's future and often organized study groups to discuss national affairs and social changes. It was then that someone introduced Huang Jiangnan, a graduate student at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, to Wang Qishan. Huang Jiangnan was analyzing the imbalances in the national economy and the potential for an economic crisis. His views were so complex that many of his advisors struggled to understand them. But to his surprise, Wang Qishan immediately recognized the importance of the analysis and proposed drafting a report to present to the central leadership. Wang Qishan is incredibly intelligent. Although he never received formal economic education in university, he has a remarkable ability to understand and absorb economic knowledge. Reflecting on it now, Huang Jiangnan says, "Wang is the most adept at learning among his peers that I know." Later, Wang Qishan, Huang Jiangnan, and 2 other young individuals spent several days in a dormitory, producing a report titled Some Views on China's Current Economic Situation and the Adjustment of the National Economy. The report predicted an economic recession in 1980 and analyzed the causes and related countermeasures. After completing the report, Wang Qishan first briefed Yao Yilin. Yao then listened to the young individual's explanations in person, recognizing the significance of the matter, and forwarded the report to Chen Yun. Chen Yun commented, "One studied industry, and one studied agriculture, yet they wrote an excellent report." This report eventually reached Zhao Ziyang, who was then the premier of the State Council. Zhao received them in a conference room in Zhongnanhai. This was the first time in the history of New China that individuals under the age of 30 were invited to report on their work in this setting. At the beginning of the meeting, Zhao Ziyang said to them, This meeting is later referred to as the First Old Youth Dialogue, and these four individuals are known as the Four Gentlemen. Afterward, they frequently gathered to discuss various economic and social issues. From then on, Wang Qishan transitioned from history to economic research, starting with agricultural problem research. In 1982, Yao Yilin was elected as an alternate member of the Central Political Bureau and entered the Central Secretariat, becoming a powerful figure. It was also in this year that the National Agricultural Commission was dissolved, and the Central Rural Policy Research Office of the Communist Party of China and the Rural Development Research Center of the State Council were established. These two entities shared the same personnel, with Du Runsheng serving as the director. The office was located at 9Ds Wangxing and Nan Street, known as the Ninth Compound. With the help of his father-in-law, Wang Qishan was transferred from the marginalized Chinese Academy of Social Sciences to work at the Ninth Compound. This transfer undoubtedly reflected Du Runsheng's approval of Wang Qishan. At the time, Du Runsheng was particularly interested in young, intellectually active individuals. The four gentlemen would often gather to discuss issues, and after each discussion, old Du would have them report the results. Wang Qishan frequently participated in these reports. He offered unique insights on many issues, leaving a deep impression on old Du. The Ninth Compound was then the highest institution for the study of China's three rural issues and policies, and one of the most intellectually vibrant and reform-oriented places among the central departments. Wang Qishan, Duan Yingbi, Chen Tuven, Du Ying, Justin Yifu Lin, Sang Gugong, and Zhou Qiren all once worked at the Ninth Compound. Xi Jinping and Liu Yuan, who were working in local areas at the time, were hired as special researchers for the Agricultural Research Program. Every year before the drafting of the No. 1 document, they were often invited to the Ninth Compound to participate in discussions. Liu He, who went to study in the United States at the time, also had a recommendation letter written by old Du. These individuals all consider themselves disciples of Du Runsheng and gather every year to celebrate his birthday. Some evaluate that Du Runsheng, though he never formed a faction, had many disciples. Xi Jinping is also counted among Du Runsheng's disciples. In the 1980s, during his tenure as deputy secretary in Zhengding County, Wedeldin had to face rural issues daily and sought Du Runsheng's support. He needed to report his work to the National Agricultural Commission and seek old Du's guidance. During his tenure at the Ninth Courtyard, Wang Qishan worked in the liaison office, responsible for convening rural issues experts and provincial agricultural officials, leveraging his outstanding organizational skills. Wang Qishan always seized every opportunity to enhance his abilities. The annual Central Rural Work Conference, which lasted about 10 days, attracted participants from various provinces. Wang Qishan spent every evening discussing issues with officials from different regions, never taking a moment's rest. As a result, he had a clear understanding of the nationwide rural conditions. An amusing detail from the Ninth Courtyard is that visitors had to register at the gate, and each staff member had a visitor registration book. Due to the high number of people seeking Wang Qishan, his book was always filled the quickest. In 1984, a group of young economists planned to organize a national conference to discuss the direction of the next phase of economic system reform. The conference was held in Moganshan, Deqing County, Zhejiang Province, known later as the Moganshan Conference. Wang Qishan was both an organizer and a participant. At the conference, he not only listened attentively, but also brought central government concerns to the table, playing a significant role in guiding the conference's direction. The conference report garnered attention from national leaders at the time, genuinely influencing China's reform process and retaining positive relevance today. After the lively Moganshan conference, Wang Qishan returned to the quiet Ninth Courtyard to continue his work. In 1986, the Rural Development Research Center under the State Council established the Development Research Institute, focusing on political, economic, and social aspects of rural reform. Wang Qishan was transferred to become the institute's director, promoted to the level of minister. Chen Zihuan and Lin Yifu both served as deputy directors. During those years, Wang Qishan's office became a gathering spot for young people. Every noon, after the elders rested, the young ones would go there to exchange information and ideas. They were particularly sensitive to new situations and viewpoints, fearing they might fall behind. Meanwhile, friends would seek Wang Qishan's help with various matters, and he was always eager to assist. He would ride a small motorbike, a gift from a relative, busy from dawn till dusk, exhausted like a donkey. If Xi Jinping's fondest youthful memories are from Liangjie, then Wang Qishan's are from the Ninth Courtyard. Wang Qishan holds deep affection for the Ninth Courtyard and Du Runsheng. Once, on Du Runsheng's birthday, Wang Qishan drove himself to the celebration. I managed to slip away at noon because I really wanted to see Du Loye and all of you, but I had to leave by 1 o'clock. After the 18th National Congress, Wang Qishan became a member of the Politburo Standing Committee, but he still found time to visit Du Runsheng in the hospital. Many years later, Lin Yifu decided to step down as the director of Peking University's China Center for Economic Research to work at the World Bank. Zhao Qiren wanted to focus on academic research and did not want to take over the position. Wang Qishan, now a national leader, persuaded Zhao Qiren in his car, driving back and forth on Chang'an Avenue until Zhao Qiren agreed to take the job. During this period, Wang Qishan was still a well-behaved young man. He and Yao Mingshan were already married and their life was quite modest. He enjoyed delving into problems and coordinating affairs, had a sense of patriotism, and a strong drive for self-improvement. Although he held a significant position, it was in a humble bureau, so he had not yet experienced the perks of power. The people around him were all intellectuals, unlike the chaotic crowd he would later encounter. At this point, he was still a passionate young man seeking progress. Around 1984, Wang Qishan visited a county in Henan. During a meal, a local official knelt on the floor with a wineglass on his head to toast Wang Qishan. When Wang Qishan refused to drink, the official remained kneeling. Wang Qishan immediately said, "If I don't drink, you can stay kneeling if you like." He then continued conversing with the others, and the official eventually stood up on his own. Later, Xi Jinping mentioned in a conference that one must be strong from within, noting that Wang Qishan had excelled in personal discipline since his youth. Yu Jin's impression of Wang Qishan was still from his younger days, unaware that his friend had already fallen from grace. One can only imagine his anger upon learning the truth. A chance encounter altered the course of Wang Qishan's life. At the time, through various efforts, China secured a $300 million loan from the World Bank, part of which was allocated to rural reforms. This was a substantial sum back then, and we faced challenges in utilizing it effectively. Du Runsheng then consulted with Wang Qishan, and they decided to establish the China Rural Trust and Investment Corporation, known as China Rural Trust, with Du Runsheng serving as chairman and Wang Qishan as general manager. Strictly speaking, Wang Qishan was still part of the Ninth Office, but his focus shifted to the financial sector, which would later become well known. After its establishment, China Rural Trust, with $200 million in startup capital, became a financial powerhouse, even lending to the China International Trust and Investment Corporation, and ranking them among the top 5 financial companies nationwide. Various provinces and municipalities eagerly sought to benefit from this newly formed company, focused on rural and agricultural development, expecting to receive their share as they would in a typical planned economy. The employees managing the funds at Zhongnongxin, primarily young individuals transferred from government agencies and universities, were theoretically competent but lacked practical experience. They were often full of rhetoric but inept at management. During its initial operational phase, Zhongnongxin had a limited scope, focusing mainly on loans and national bond investments. In the mid-phase, it established funds and issued loans, centered around township enterprises. In the later stages, Zhongnongxin transitioned into diverse operations and capital management models, shifting its primary business towards speculative activities such as real estate, futures trading, stock speculation, foreign exchange trading. This led to a rapid expansion of its asset scale, reaching 30.1 billion yuan by the end of 1996. The entities receiving loans became increasingly diverse and questionable. For instance, in 1994, capital player Tang Wangxin of the DeLong Group secured substantial financing from Zhongnongxin. Like many financial institutions of that era, Zhongnongxin gradually lost control in its subsequent development. First, it established too many branch institutions, some of which were unknown even to the headquarters, including overseas branches. Second, it recklessly authorized subordinate institutions, allowing many branches to independently accept deposits, issue loans, and invest without unified risk management. Third, loan and investment procedures were chaotic, with many decisions made arbitrarily by individuals, sometimes without proper contracts or agreements. The company's accounting standards and financial management lacked uniformity, leading to significant disorder. Fourth, investments incurred heavy losses, resulting in poor asset quality. The company's non-performing loan assets stood at 60%, with an investment return rate of just 1.47%. Some investment units were severely insolvent. Most projects generated no returns, and even the principal could not be recovered. However, attributing all these issues solely to Wang Qishan is not straightforward. In 1989, just 1 year later, Wang Qishan was transferred to the China Construction Bank to serve as deputy governor. However, as the founder and first general manager, Wang Qishan could not escape blame and could not consider this period a highlight of his career. In January 1997, the China Agricultural Development Trust and Investment Corporation went bankrupt due to insolvency. Its assets, liabilities, and branches were then taken over by the China Construction Bank, with Wang Qishan serving as the governor at the time. The corporation was born under Wang Qishan's leadership and died under it, completing a full cycle. During his time at the China Agricultural Development Trust and Investment Corporation, Wang Qishan's only notable achievement was his involvement in the early design of China's securities market. In July 1988, the People's Bank of China held an internal seminar on the securities market, and the China Agricultural Development Trust and Investment Corporation was one of the participants. After the seminar, Wang Qishan, then general manager of the corporation, along with representatives from 9 other companies, established the Securities Trading Exchange Research and Design Joint Office, known as the Lianban, which became one of the pioneers and designers of China's early securities market. At the inception of the Lianban, it launched a publication called the Securities Market Weekly and published a foreword under the name Zhang Jin Fu Dai. This publication became one of the earliest designated media outlets for information disclosure in China's securities market. Later, it also launched the financial magazine Caijing, edited by Hu Shuli, and the financial news website Hexun, thus setting the tone for China's financial sector, including the stock market and financial markets. This is where Guo Wengui later alleged that Hu Shuli was Wang Qishan's mistress. However, the reality was that Wang Qishan's communication with Hu Shuli was primarily through Wang Baoming of the Lianban. After Hu Shuli's team parted ways with Wang Baoming and went independent, the new magazine Kexin had little communication with Wang Qishan. Its shareholders had already changed to the Chinese Cultural Industry Investment Fund, led by Ruoqiang. Former World Bank representative to China, Lin Zhonggang, submitted a report to then Vice Premier Zhu Rongji, proposing the establishment of a joint venture investment institution in China. At the time, China's monopolistic resources, such as telecommunications and oil, were looking to list overseas, but there was no domestic investment bank capable of handling the task. During his tenure as vice president of the China Construction Bank, Wang Qishan also received similar proposals from former executives of top-tier investment banks like Morgan Stanley. Zhu Rongji paid close attention to this report. Upon returning to the China Construction Bank as president, Wang Qishan immediately initiated negotiations for the joint venture. In August 1995, the China Construction Bank, along with Morgan Stanley and others, established China International Capital Corporation with an initial capital of $125 million. Morgan Stanley held a 34.3% stake, making it the second largest shareholder. At its inception, Morgan Stanley viewed CCC as its primary platform for conducting business in China and dispatched a significant number of talented investment banking professionals from Wall Street. This allowed CCP quickly establish business standards comparable to international levels, and laid a solid foundation for maintaining international standards. In 1997, CCC successfully participated in the $4.20 billion overseas issuance of China Telecom, marking its first major project and an important milestone. In the years that followed, CCC shared of the overseas listings of dozens of large Chinese state-owned enterprises, raising substantial funds for these companies. CCC also established fully internationalized and market-based compensation standards. Most importantly, Zhu Rongji's son, Zhu Yunlai, joined the company in 1998.